sync the audio. Your name was?
Maya.
Maya, cool. So, are things okay? Like, is the world okay?
Oh, I don't think so. I definitely don't think the world is okay.
Okay. Why not?
I think there are a lot of issues. A lot of people are divided. There's a lot of focus on the wrong things in life. I feel like a lot of people tend to put barriers or differences up to make those problems okay and to make them seem like they're okay.
Okay. So, you mentioned focusing on the wrong things. You think that's kind of a big part of the issue?
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of an intentional issue? Like, you think if people focused on better things, the world would be good, or would there still be problems?
There's always going to be problems. I think that's inevitable. I think
Okay.
wherever people are, there will always be problems. I feel like people, by nature, are never going to be perfect. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like if us as a society, if we started focusing on more issues that didn't necessarily divide us, on ways to bring ourselves together, on ways to compromise, then that way we would be able to fix some of these issues, make it a little better.
Okay, so like if we came together sort of in a community and figured them out, things would be better. Okay, would that take any restructuring, or would it just take good communication between people?
I think a lot of both. I think that there is a lot of miscommunication between a lot of groups. I think there's a lot of restructuring that does need to be done, though, to a lot of systems in this, in where we are. I think that we need to work on understanding that maybe since things aren't all right, we need to dismantle them and rebuild that. And that's okay. I feel like a lot of people are scared by that. Sorry. I feel like a lot of people are. Okay. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are worried by the fact that things might be wrong, so they don't tend to think it's okay to try to take them apart. They just think that since things are wrong, we have to deal with that.
Okay, so if we were to take a bunch of things apart and sort of restructure them, I guess I have a few questions with that. One would be, if we restructured them well enough, would things be what you would call good? Or you said there'd still be these really major issues present, or would we possibly be able to come to a state where you would say, okay, things are good?
I think a state where things would be good would be a state where we have restructured things to be how they should be. I feel like a lot of things are not how they should be. I feel like if they were restructured well enough, there could be a lot of issues solved. But
Okay.
The thing is, it's the problem of restructuring them.
Okay, the problem is restructuring them. But once restructured, then would things be considered good?
I feel like maybe. I feel like there's a lot of problems in the world that maybe I might not even be focused on for the things I'm thinking specifically.
Okay.
Then restructuring would help. But I feel, again, problems and conflicts in society and life are inevitable.
Yeah.
Things wouldn't ever be perfect, but they might be better.
Okay. So problems are inevitable, but they might be better, and that's all we can really hope for?
Yeah.
That's fair. So, I guess to walk back a few steps, who should make the decision on this restructuring? Should it be a kind of collective decision somehow, or how would you organize that, or would there be any authority that would kind of lay down the new structure?
I feel like honestly just the people themselves need to kind of come together and realize that our differences should not separate us, rather they should bring us together. I feel like looking for a figurehead has made a bunch of problems in life. Looking for a figurehead has, for example, politicians, you have the conflicts on both sides.
Yeah.
And then you have people who aren't fully represented, or you have people who don't agree with either side, or who don't like either side.
Okay.
And I feel like having looking for a certain figurehead or looking for one person isn't the answer. I feel like as a community, people should try to come together.
Okay. So you mentioned representation. Would that solution, if we wouldn't kind of accumulate around a figurehead, would that solution take place of everyone being adequately represented in some way or another, or how can we have everyone be represented and still actually move anywhere? Because I feel like if we try to represent every individual, the process would take so long and would be so arduous
Right,
that
yeah.
we wouldn't really get anywhere. So would we just like choose representatives that people agree with? Like, okay, this person represents me, or something like that.
Sorry. I feel like we could do that, but I feel like, again, that would take a really long time. I feel like, honestly, just finding community within yourselves, again, not separating yourselves, but finding community with people who are maybe a little like-minded, but try to get to know somebody who's not like you, who's very different
Okay.
than you, so you can understand a different point of view. And that way, you're not really like representing the other person, but you're understanding the
Okay.
other person, where they come from, how they are, and that way you might be more inclined to like, hey, I understand why this person thought this, so now I understand why they might disagree with me a certain way. Now you understand how to come to a compromise.
Okay, sure. So would the solution look something like a nationwide or even global compromise?
It could.
Okay. Interesting. Do you think people would be willing to do that, or
I
like,
feel-
what would a compromise look like exactly with like people that seem to have very incongruent beliefs?
So I feel like a lot of people globally, to go back to your first question, I feel like a lot of people do want a compromise as much as it doesn't seem like it. A lot of people just want peace, and whether that may look different for everyone else, people want peace. That is a fact. That is just known. Nobody really wants to start conflict. Nobody really wants to start mess and like drama. That's just not how it is. People want their own peace, but they also want it on their own terms. I feel like understanding that your own terms are not going to best fit everyone else, that you need to, again, understand someone else's point of view, understand why someone believes what they believe, understand like how they're different than you, and that way you can maybe better realize maybe this is a best fit for me but not for you. How can we make it fit both of us? Because the world is not just one person. The world is 8 billion people, and since the world is not one person, we need to put our own personal biases aside, our own personal beliefs aside for a minute, and maybe accept someone else for a minute and think, hey, like, the world is made up of all of these people. And
Okay.
so, yeah.
Fair enough. So you mentioned kind of coming together in communities. Do you think it would be sufficient to just for everyone to find a local community that they can feel like appreciated and they can feel like they belong in?
I feel like that could work. I feel like
Or would we need a more kind of global, like top-down approach?
definitely starting local. I feel like that's the thing that has divided people a lot. They don't have community within areas locally. They don't have community within their areas around them. I feel like that you have to connect with the people around you immediately, like around you
Yeah.
first, before you connect even with someone global or someone on a higher range scale.
Well, do
Because-
we need the higher range scale? Like, why don't we just stop at the lower range, kind of forming local communities?
I feel like then it only benefits local areas of like where you are. So if let's say here in Colorado, if I was to make a great local community and we have great stuff going on here, but I was to go back to Texas, which is where I'm from, things are not the same there. And then if I want those same benefits that I brought like in Colorado to go to Texas, I'd need to like form groups there, and then that would have to build up.
Okay. Well, what's wrong with that?
I feel like then you're just accepting the fact that things won't change if you don't want to move it to a bigger scale. I feel like you're just accepting the fact that conflict's going to happen and you're
Okay.
not looking for a way to compromise or change.
So the ultimate goal is something like world peace, something like a world community where everyone feels kind of perfectly involved?
The ultimate goal.
Okay. Huh. And do you think humans are capable of that? Or will they always kind of prioritize the people directly around them in their sort of local area?
I feel like people could be capable of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's at everyone's best interest right now. I feel like people should have that at their best interest.
Okay. And then if we did have that sort of global community, would you say that's the key to make things good?
It could be. It definitely, again, people have different backgrounds and different ideas and different versions of their own peace they want to have and different things they want. So I feel like not just the global community, but I feel like having the set of compromise and the sense of understanding that people are going to be different. They're going to have different reasons for why they believe different things. You're not going to always understand that. You need to understand that that person is not like you, and that because they're not like
Okay.
you, they're going to have a different set of ideas, and you're going to have to compromise with that a little bit.
Okay. So but I feel like if everyone's in a global community, there has to be some common ground, right? in order for them to be binded together in that community. So in a global context, what would that common ground look like?
I feel like the common ground would just look like, I'm not sure, I feel like everyone respecting each other possibly.
Okay.
Again, I'm not really sure what that would look like. I feel like it could be everyone respecting each other, or everyone understanding that they've come together to create this global community, and that in it the differences are going to be enhanced. That's something that makes the global community the global community. Not everyone's going to be the same.
Okay, and why should they respect each other? Like, just because of their humanity? Like, because they sort of look like them in a certain sense? They're both humans?
I feel like you should respect someone just to respect someone.
Okay.
I feel like once you start disrespecting someone, or just regarding their beliefs or something like that, that's when conflict starts to happen again. And the whole purpose of this global community, in theory, is to not have as much conflict.
Yeah.
So if you start disrespecting people, then
Yeah.
you're going to have a bunch of people that, like, you're going to have conflict arise again, and it eradicates the whole point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just tricky because there's definitely like contexts I can imagine where somebody might have a particular set of beliefs that would violate another person's set of beliefs in a way where they might actually disagree on the terminology
Yeah.
that constitutes
Yeah.
like what what respect means, or what, like, in some cases what a human life means. And it's hard to know how people will speak the same language, because it seems like when people are in ideological enclaves or religious enclaves or even national kind of enclaves, they're able to share terminology as to where they can speak, and they know what the other person is talking about. And it's hard to see like how that would hold together in such a big
Yeah.
context. Like,
Yeah.
like would there be like a common language?
I think understanding, again, going back to our differences thing, that for language barriers, for example, if that's what you're getting at, not everyone needs to know the same language.
Okay.
There can be people who know, you can take the time to know another language, to learn a second language, to learn what different gestures mean, to learn why different cultures do what different things do. Not everyone should have to
Yeah.
assimilate to one to fit your preferences. Everyone should have to
Okay.
accept the differences, and accept that things are not the same, and accept it's not on your terms.
And what about the sort of interpretive thing that I was getting at? How people might hear the same word, but because of their ideology or because of their religion or because of their nationality, they hear the word differently. Like, how do you get around that? Like, for example, these days people might hear the word woman differently.
For example, so for women, for example, I feel like just understanding, again, like the different cultural backgrounds that someone comes from. So understanding
Yeah.
that if you take the time to get to know someone and their background, and that, again, I'm going to keep going back to that, but is really what I found it
Okay.
takes. I'm going to jump a little off topic here, but coming from Texas, I've met
Yeah.
so much people who are just so different from me. And coming up to
Yeah.
Colorado, the lifestyle here is extremely different.
Yeah.
And understanding, though, how those differences bring us all to be people, how they keep us moving towards what we move towards,
Okay.
how they make us wake up in the morning. You wake up and you have your set of beliefs, what you believe in, what you aim for every day. And it's not the same as what I
Yeah.
believe in, might not be the same as what you believe in, and that's fine.
Yeah.
To understand that you could have the entire different set of beliefs than I do, and I do not have to hate you for that. I don't have to have any type of animosity towards you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
I just have to accept that, and to understand that as long as you know what you believe in and you can say why, that is perfectly fine.
Okay, yeah. So there's a sort of global acceptance
Yeah.
and compassion and respect for all other human beings and what they believe in.
Yeah.
And there's this sort of unity that's happens because of that.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds beautiful. I guess my only question would be, like, what do you do with the psychopaths? Like, what about people that will lie and cheat and try to take advantage of people?
So actually, I am studying sociology, like specializing in criminology, and I'm a huge dork. My friends will tell you.
Okay.
I love criminology. I love everything about it. And I think something that a lot of people tend to misinterpret, something that just gets overgeneralized, is psychopathy and sociopathy. And people tend to lump them all in one. but really they are different. Psychopathy is a controlled crazy. Sociopathy is someone who lacks empathy. So they don't have a conscience. They don't have something telling them, that's wrong, I shouldn't do that, because, and that doesn't excuse their behaviors, but it's something that just tells them, that's like, that it's okay for me to do that because I don't care for that person's feelings, emotions. They don't have a regard for that. And a lot of the times, this can happen in the womb, or it can develop outside. But I think that if we establish better mental health, like, facilities or better ways to help give these people the help they need, then there could be some type of way to control this. You can't ever eliminate it. Again, sometimes it's biological. Just like how you can't eliminate depression or autism, those are just things that some people are born with, and that is perfectly fine. That is, again, perfectly fine.
Should you ever make the decision to put someone in like jail or prison?
Sometimes people do need to be. There are laws for a reason, and they have the prison system for a reason. I won't lie, it is a messed up system, but I will agree that going to put someone in jail isn't inherently bad if they did what they said, what you said they did. If they are wrongfully convicted, there's a high amount of people in jail who are wrongfully convicted, and I think that needs a lot of attention brought to it too.
Okay.
So I feel like the theory of putting someone in jail is a great theory, but again, it doesn't always work out the way it should.
That's fair. So I guess in this theoretical sort of idea of this global community, certain people will go to prison.
Yes, that's just how it is.
Yeah. And maybe a lot of those people would be psychopaths that don't have compassion, or sociopaths in that case, that might do crimes because of their condition.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just can't have them in society. Like they would just cause problems to the community.
Locking someone away, though, doesn't take their problems away from society. It just takes them away from society. I think that's something a lot of people get confused. A lot of people think because we put so-and-so in prison, or because we've did this, or because we put this person on death row, or this or that, that this is going to be gone from society forever. It's not. It's like crime eugenics. It doesn't work that way. There's still going to be people like that who are born into the world, but you have one person out of the way, and I feel like that's better than none.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So they're out of the way in a certain sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and should it just be regulated to like the people that killed somebody or did some serious crime where they, sexual assault, that kind of thing? Or should it also, like, should the laws, like, what do you do with someone, for example, that just doesn't want to go along with this global community, but they're not necessarily being dangerous to anyone, they just...
I feel like a lot of education. A lot of people don't understand that these hatreds are taught.
Yeah.
Racism, sexism, all of that is taught. You can raise someone to hate black people, or you can raise someone to hate women, and that is how they will grow up.
Yeah.
And vice versa. That is why you have people like who are in conservative families who don't believe the same things, who are in liberal families who don't believe the same things, who are not political at all and don't believe the same things. Again, to move away from the political aspect. But I feel like a lot of education as young ages, and I feel like people though that are older need to be open to changing their worldview, understanding that the world is changing. You hear a lot of, well, she's from a different time, or it was a different time in my day, but understanding that as your time moves forward, so do these other people's times. This next generation is coming forward. This next generation has things to say and things to do and ideas to bring, and maybe be open to that. You can't stay stuck in your own time forever. That's what makes us stuck in our own ways.
I do have one more question, and then I have one more question. You guys have to leave?
Yeah.
Can I do one more question?
One more question.
Okay. So, what if, like, you try your best to educate this person on the kind of global community guidelines of respect and compassion and everything, and they just don't care. Like, they just don't care.
I feel like you're gonna have some people like that in life.
Will you incarcerate them, or would you just kind of try to? But what if they're almost like contaminating the pond?
Again, if they don't, if nobody has committed a crime, there's not a reason to incarcerate them.
Okay.
I feel like as much as you might have these problems, these setbacks, I feel like not to focus on that, to focus on how much change you could make. If you focus forever on the things that could hold you back, on the things that could bring you down, on the reasons that it could not work, then you will not make any progress. You need to focus on the ways that things could work out, the ways that things have worked out in the past. Education and reform have worked out in the past. If you focus on things like that, then there are definitely ways that we can move forward.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you for your
of
time.
course. Yeah,
I
thank you
hope,
too.
I hope you enjoyed this too.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.